Hello and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by two friends who love cinema. I'm Oliver and I'm joined by my co-host Gus. Tonight you'll be staying in room 152, The Menu, the newest film directed by Mark Mylod. So go ahead, get comfortable and throw on that do not disturb sign as we prepare a 5-course meal with The Menu.
Who are you?
I am Margot. Why do you care?
I have to know if you're with us or with them. This menu,
The pictures, they're of us.
this guest list,
How did he get these? It's not good.
this entire evening
This is just theater. It's stagecraft.
We're leaving now. Has been painstakingly planned.
What is going on, all my fine diners? Thank you for checking back in to the Grand Cinema Hotel. Tonight, I'm joined by Ro,
What's up, guys?
and we'll be talking about The Menu, directed by Mark Mylod. Horror comedy, thriller comedy. I think it's more of a thriller comedy, I would say, or comedic thriller, I guess. I'm going to bring in Ro early. Ro, how did you enjoy this movie? How did you enjoy this movie? What did you think of this movie? You obviously did enjoy the movie, correct?
Right, I did enjoy it.
Go ahead. Why don't you give us a little something about the movie?
So I will say about this movie, having go to the theaters a lot this year, I saw this trailer a lot, and I feel like I could see the twist coming or what they thought was going to be, what made this film be a little different. And so I still ended up liking this film a lot, knowing what it was going to turn into or try to twist itself into. I still think that it had a lot of genuine attempts at making a good film, and I do think that this was really fun, and the audience I watched it with is also really into it. And I just didn't see myself really liking this as much as I did, but I do think that it has a lot of great acting in it, and I think that some of its comedic moments I thought were, they were funny. They weren't exactly, oh my god, hilarious, but I did think that I liked the type of tone that it took, and I'm just glad that I saw this in theaters, because we're kind of talking about maybe this will catch another audience in streaming, but I don't know. It's just a really fun movie to watch, honestly.
Yeah, so I went with my wife to see this movie. She had no idea. She had never seen the trailer. She had no idea that there was a movie called The Menu coming out. It was just, we wanted to have a date night, and just like you, I've seen this trailer 1,000 times. I was kind of expecting it to just be like a ho-hum whatever movie. It's a movie. We'll go to the movies
Exactly.
and just see a movie, right? It felt like that a lot, but after watching it, I mean, it only took me about, I would say 20 minutes to kind of okay, I'm enjoying myself. I think this is a pretty fun time. I don't think that it's I know it's a comedic satire, thriller type of thing, right? I think the comedy works way more than the thriller or horror aspects that's been kind of thrown around.
Yeah.
But in that case, I do think that it's just overall a really fun time, and I'm kind of surprised it's not doing better. We were looking it up before the episode, a budget of 30 million, and it's only made 21 so far, which kind of surprises me, honestly. I really did think that this would catch on a little more than it did, and like you said, maybe in streaming, I think maybe now we kind of have an audience that feels like there is certain movies where it's I'll just watch that at home. There's no need for me to go see that movie. But I do think that because of the shifting of tones and just the nature of the movie itself, that it's more fun with an audience. I feel like this would be a lot easier to judge at home by yourself, kind of sitting on your couch where you're in your own little echo chamber where you can just be like, oh, this movie fucking sucks, or this movie's not as deep as it thinks it is, or whatever. And we'll get into that a little bit later, because I don't think that this movie even thinks it's deep.
I don't think it thinks it's deep.
But I could see how somebody would say that.
That it thinks it's deep? Yeah.
I think that you think that
yeah.
you think that I think.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Or people will be like, this movie thinks it's saying so much. And I don't think it thinks it's saying so much. I think what I really enjoyed about this film, well, first, I did want to kind of talk about this because we've kind of had discussions about this. The cooking channel or things in that nature, I know that you enjoy a lot.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I know that you and your wife watch that a lot. And when I used to have a girlfriend, I used to be really into watching the culinary arts, and I do think it's a these chefs that we like, Gordon Ramsay famously are very precise, are very almost looked at as insane. And I did really appreciate that I got a movie where we get that kind of extensiveness. What if Gordon Ramsay was, takes that hate that we see him give to some of like, you morons or whatever, but really takes it to the next level. And I think that's what I really enjoyed about this film. It made me want to watch even after watching all the trailers, is that you get taken into a world where not necessarily really you see a Hollywood portrayal of it too often. And I think that's what really drove this to me, and kind of, even though it's not saying much like we're talking about, I think it really made me have a love for it, because I don't really get that type of subgenre too much.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed all the cooking aspects of it. Excuse me. I enjoyed the cooking aspects and all the culinary art stuff too. Like you said, I do love watching that kind of stuff on TV. Chefs and cooks and things like that, they really are some of the true artists of the world.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the service industry, and I can't think of any industry that really like serves people more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to want
literally.
to cook for somebody is like a really like deep human, like lovely thing that people do for each other, and then to see it commodified and see how it's exploited, and to see how like the art, I mean, just like in any other art form, just to see how it gets kind of like bastardized, and just kind of the love is taken out of it, right? And like there's a line in the movie that Ralph Fiennes gives where he's like, and the most important ingredient in cooking is love. And it's like, that seems cliche, but there really is that love that goes into cooking that I don't know if it goes into every art form the exact same way,
No, because of what you're saying, you're serving these people, and then what I think this movie is making sense is that these people that do not deserve high-end meals are getting served really good high-end meals, and cooking comes from being for the people, giving food as love, and I think that's where the movie really comments on that social dynamic between food and culture, and the hierarchy in a lot of present cultures, and I think that's as deep as it goes, and I don't really think it's trying to give you an answer. I just think it's saying these people are definitely proponents of seeing this point of view very almost uniquely, because again, a chef really has to serve who pays for his food, and if he makes really exquisite food, only really rich people can do it. But are these rich people really the best type of customers, or the same type of customers you would want to put love in your food for? Do they deserve that? And I don't think they do. And I think that's where the movie really just is powerful in terms of addressing those themes. Another point that I actually did want to bring up is that I think this movie just is kind of getting lost in terms of all the other good movies that are out right now. And maybe, I don't know about good, but like Black Panther has definitely taken a bunch of the screens, but then you have stuff like Bones and all. You have
the Fabelmans.
You have the Fabelmans. You have the Glass Onion week run. And I think this film really came out of, if you're not in the theaters watching these trailers all the time, I think it might be, hasn't really been promoted too well, in all honesty.
Yeah, I don't know how, I'm not a big TV watcher like cable and stuff like
exactly.
that. So I don't really know if it's being just like just beaten over people's heads, like the menu, like the way that a Black Panther would. Like, I'm sure if you turn on an NBA game, you're gonna see 20 Black Panther commercials.
Exactly.
And are you gonna see, and maybe of the Fabelmans? You're definitely not gonna see Bones and all. So it does just feel kind of lost. And I don't know, maybe it's the only movie out right now too that doesn't kind of seem like it's filling anyone's needs. Like the Black Panther's obviously filling the Marvel need, right?
Comics,
and like
yeah.
the everyman, the popcorn eater of like, oh, if we're going to the movies,
The
we're gonna go see
blockbuster.
Black Panther,
Yeah.
right? And the prestigious, the art house, the
Fabelmans.
legendary director, it's like, okay, let's go see the Fabelmans if we want to go see a real capital C cinema movie.
Mm-hmm.
And even like Bones and all, I mean, like, I feel like that's easily covering like the indie crowd, the art house crowd as well. The real sicko cinephiles are gonna go see Bones and all this weekend. So I don't really know if the menu kind of where does it fit in at the moment, and like, I'm not saying this in a negative way because I do like this movie a lot, but that I do see see where it's coming from, this this kind of like brushing to the side that we
Yeah.
have going on. It does feel like it's being just kind of brushed to the side.
I mean, even thematically in the podcast, and I know I don't really consider this a horror movie, but coming into it, we kind of talked about how we were kind of horror tapped out, but it was still intriguing to get this movie before technically the Christmas season, and kind of still have its horror themes and still really be in on it, because I'm like you, and I agree. Like, I think this year watching a horror movie every day was really made me feel like, okay, I think I'm good. And having it be at the end of the year, I thought I'd be good. But this movie, I do think really came out of nowhere, and maybe people do see the trailer and think like this is going to be so much deeper than it thinks it is, but it really is just a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the word of mouth will do it some favors, and like you said, when it gets to streaming, I do think a lot more people are going to watch it, because they're going to be like, oh, Ralph Fiennes, oh, Anya Taylor-Joy, or, oh, I watched Succession and I recognize some of the people from Succession, or, you know, John Leguizamo, whatever. There's, I do think it's going to have its moment, but I do feel like it's just kind of in a bad spot right now, because we've been doing a lot of episodes recently, and we've been seeing a lot of movies, and we did feel like this was worthy of an episode, but also it has kind of been pushed around and moved to the side of it because so many other things are coming out. I will say, though, in a good way, and I guess it's a pun, I did think of this movie as kind of like a palate cleanser, honestly, like where I just went to the movies, I enjoyed myself. I had some stuff to say about it, but it wasn't like, man, this movie is just like eating at me on the inside where I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I'll be honest, The Fabelmans is a movie where, yeah, I haven't really stopped thinking about it since I've seen it. Or what else have we seen recently? The Weird Al movie. I fucking think about that movie every day because of how funny it was. And The Menu, it did just feel nice to kind of go in, enjoy myself, and kind of be able to just remove myself from it once it was over. You know, it's just like that was nice. I needed that. You know, but I wanted to get into the movie a little bit more. It's directed by Mark Mylod, who most people would know from Succession and Game of Thrones and Entourage and Shameless. If you're a little bit I wouldn't say old, but if you're a little bit older than us, you'd probably know him from directing the Ali G movie with Sacha Baron Cohen. So I do see where those comedic roots come from, especially working with Sacha Baron Cohen and Ali G.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen.
I did think that Mark Mylod did a good job. I mean, this isn't his vision. This wasn't his like passion project. This is a director for hire type of job. But I do think that he did a wonderful job keeping everything together, because this movie could be way worse, because the two tones clashing could definitely be a hindrance to the movie.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a good job of being in football terms, being a field general, where he handled everything the right way and got him into the end zone. I did think that this was a successful movie, and I know a lot of it has to do with Mark Mylod. So
yeah, it's well directed in terms of also having the actors that we have at our disposal here. I think there's a lot of good names here, and I think sometimes people seem to butcher those things because they just kind of like, well, you're a good actor, just kind of do your thing. But I think there's some direction that's given here to these characters, and even in terms of who the actors chose as, not chose as their characters, but really how they relate to the characters. And because I know John Leguizamo was kind of talking about He had gotten influence for his character. I kind of forgot what he said, but he
Steven Seagal.
Yeah, see, exactly. He so I just think the fact that he even kind of could resonate with this character so much and take it, and kind of add that dynamic to it is what a lot of these characters did with their.
Yeah, like someone like John Leguizamo who's playing a washed-up actor in this movie, and is it really that much of a stretch for him when he's doing Papadilla commercials and
yeah,
things of that nature? I'm sure he could bring some personal baggage into this movie and into this role. It's an ensemble cast, so not everyone is having these standout moments, but
No.
I did think that overall it was a strong cast.
Mhm.
I mean, the the standouts here are Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes, and
Nicholas Hoult.
Huh?
Or I would say Hong Chow.
I wouldn't really. Yeah, I was gonna say Hong Chow, but yeah, Nicholas Hoult as well. I did think that he was easily the most dislikable character in the entire movie.
Easily. But yeah, Nicholas Holt's character, I guess because he plays such a, like, Kelly's somewhat of an important role, is just worth bringing up. I think some of the other funny ones are like Rob Yang with some of the chemistry. We talked about Arturo Castro being in movies. He was in the Weird Al movie. And talked about just like it seems like he's in everything lately, which is good for him. But I did think everybody had the little moment of kind of showing what a POS they are.
Yeah, and I don't know if this movie is even really judging any of the people in the movie. Like it doesn't really feel like that. Like it would come off like it's an Eat the Rich movie, but it's not really. It's kind of, I don't really know how to describe it because it's kind of like everyone who's here is at fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Ralph Fiennes character was trying to grapple with a lot of his own shit. And sorry, hold on.
Oh yeah, but I think I do get what you mean. Just because it doesn't really have to do with them specifically doing evil things. They're just products of the system. In all reality, just kind of like how the chefs are in the relationship that they have with having to make this food for these people. And this what I do think is another thing that reminds you of this is the setting where this is. It's like in an island, and it just really seems very upper echelon, and I think again, to be able to afford all of these nice things and everything, all of these people are kind of just paying for something that it seems that a lot of other rich people have done various weeks. We get a lot of quotes of "you've been here like 16 times" or something, and you can't name one of my dishes. So we know that this isn't just like a one-time thing. This is something that a lot of rich people come and do. So I get what you're saying, being byproducts of the system.
Yeah. So one thing I had wanted to bring up was a thing Hong Chow had said about the film was that it would be too simple and reductive to just be wagging your finger and be like, oh, this is a send up to the rich and being like, you're just we hate you because you're rich. It's not. It's like that's too simple, Yeah. And that a lot of the characters in this movie all come from a lot of different walks of life, and how privilege is not something that is just a old white person thing, Like many of the characters in this film are
minorities or people of color.
Well, yeah, exactly, and from different backgrounds of life. Like you said, John Leguizamo is playing a washed-up actor, and he has his assistant with him. There's like an old rich white couple who, like you had mentioned. They're repeat customers, but they're not even really enjoyers of the food. It's just like enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
Like the tech bros, it would be easy for them to just be like three dorky white dudes, but they're not. It's an Asian guy, a black guy, and a Latino dude. And I do think it's a lot more relevant to today because of the I'm not going to be like, oh, it was forced diversity, but the diversity of the cast. That like we are kind of past the idea of just white privilege, like this is a class issue. This isn't as much of a color issue as it would be presented. I don't know, maybe even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like if they had made this 5 years ago, it would just be like, don't rich white people suck,
Definitely.
And this is more of like no, all rich people fucking suck, which is a message I could definitely get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did think too that the other thing was that they weren't all old either. Like that was another kind of important aspect to me, where it was like this can be anybody from any walk of life, really. And the big one being Nicholas Hoult for me was like I really fucking hate this guy. Like that was the one where I couldn't understand him at all. Like I just thought he was so annoying, and maybe it was like the fanboy aspect, like even seeing a little bit of ourselves in that, you know what I mean? Of just this obsessive, like fanboy, you know what I mean? Like it was just kind of so irritating to see him like literally crying over the food, or like the way he was just so obsessed and knew everything. Like he might as well have written the Wikipedia article on Ralph Fiennes' character,
Total obsession.
Yeah, like way too unhinged. I would like to get to Anya Taylor-Joy because she really is I don't know. It almost feels weird to say she's the star of the movie because everybody has a role to play.
Yeah.
And everybody does feel important in this.
I agree. But I do think I would call it a three-headed dragon between her, Hong Chow, and, well, we were talking about this, Ralph Fiennes, and then Fiennes, and then it's Ray. I don't know. People call him Ray. But I do think it's them three.
Yeah. Ralph Fiennes, phenomenal actor. I mean, he means more to this show than some people will probably ever know because of the Grand Budapest Hotel being the inspiration for the name. So I always do love seeing him in movies. I couldn't help but think of Voldemort a few times when he was giving those menacing looks, because
Seriously.
he'll always be Voldemort to me, with or without the nose. It's impossible not to see it.
Yeah, he looks like every single time.
His character is really the catalyst for everything. He's egotistical. He's self-loathing. He simultaneously remembers where he comes from, but also kind of throws it away at the same time. And he's very, very complicated. And he's kind of like a little Hannibal Lecter-ish, you know, like that was kind of what I was getting from him. But also, like, he did remind me of just I don't know, like the most cold, calculating, like not even chef, like just professional. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I took it. Was like, I don't know what this guy does, but I could tell that he's serious. Like this is serious shit. Like if I saw him walk in the room, you know what I mean? Like even if he was just buying an onion at the grocery store, I'd be like, that's a serious guy.
That's the type of energy that it portrays, and I mean, it is kind of how we see chefs. I do think, again, they're kind of a master of this art that they perfected, and you know, they have all these specifications. They learn how to do all these, like, perfect temperature, the perfect time in the being cooked. And I do think that there's some stress that comes to that when you end up giving these plates something that is super, super personal. End up giving this plate that you put in a lot of love, like he talks about in the movie.
He's militaristic as well. That was what I really wanted to say. Like that was the vibe that he was giving off. That was the vibe that his crew had.
Like the claps.
Everything. I mean, we're going to do spoilers in this episode. So the fact that they live on this island, the fact that they eat together, they sleep together, they fucking train together. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like just total military, and like almost like its own, like, you know how they say like Disneyland has its own government?
Yeah.
Kind of like this place like governs itself. You know what I mean? Like it felt like Lord of the Flies meets Top Chef.
He is very cultish.
Yeah, that was the other thing. You know what I thought also helped with this cultish vibe was that the music was done by Colin Stetson, who is an Ari Aster collaborator. That's not going to be the last time I talk about Ari Aster in this episode. Just wait till we get to the end. But I thought the music was another wonderful part of this movie, and also the editing as well too. I thought that the way that they presented each course was helped kind of add to that, like, dining experience and how you would see it presented on a TV show when they're presenting the plates and then like the descriptions of what they are. It's not really something you see in movies too often, and I did kind of enjoy that, honestly.
Yeah, that was a part that I noticed too, that just there's a certain shot that they do in product placing that is never used in movies, and it felt a little, maybe if it was done in we talked about with a different director and a different type of tone, it would have awfully felt like this is not what you do. But here it felt like the way they described the food, or the seconds they would choose to do this, was kind of more commenting on where the movie was going and what the issues are.
It gives
presented.
moments for it gives a chance for some of the comedic moments in the movie as well, because it takes that time to let it hang, and you're reading you're like reading the description, and you're like, oh fuck, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You know, this movie really kind of came together in a weird way, honestly. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. So it was written by Seth Reese and Will Tracy, and the story was conceived after Tracy had dined at some fancy restaurant called like Cornelius Sojmat restaurant. I don't know, something weird, right?
Right.
It was during a honeymoon, and when he got back, he talked to Reese and was like, I think we could make a story kind of on this experience of what it's like to have this like high fine dining experience, and how it's so different than just going to any other restaurant. You know, like if I was to get up and go to an Olive Garden right now, it's kind of a nothing experience. But like you said, it almost became like when you're dining at this high of a level, it does almost feel like cultish. Like it's not even about the food, it's about the experience of like
status. Yeah.
And it's so funny to see what the food looks like too. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy's character at one point is like, "Are we even gonna eat food? Like none of what you've presented so far has been food." And I'm not really a foodie like that. Like I don't think of food as like a status thing, you know, where it's like, oh, I need to try this specifically for the experience. Like I just eat what I like, and I do like to we had mentioned before off pod. Like this is a conversation we have all the time of like I would die to try like a genuinely good pizza. You know what I mean? Not just restaurant pizza, not just fucking Domino's or Pizza Hut, but like real pizza. And like that's just like an experience I've never had, and I would consider myself like someone who does like food, but I'm like, why have I never sought that out? Like because I assume that would like really fucking hit the spot, you know what I mean? Like I would love to have that ratatouille moment of like biting into like a genuinely good pizza. But kind of getting back to the movie, it was originally going to be Adrian Payne, I believe. I know that because Emma Stone was connected to this movie at first, right? And I think it was Adrian Payne, but after scheduling conflicts and stuff, the movie kind of got put on the back burner for a while. And then Ralph Fiennes had been part of the cast since the beginning, but he left the project too. And then when Mark Mylod came on board, that's when they got Anya Taylor-Joy in negotiations, and it only took like about a month. And they're like, okay, she's going to replace her. And then that's when Ralph Fiennes comes back. They get Hong Chow, Nicholas Hoult, and then the rest of the ensemble. But it was kind of in that like pre-production purgatory for a while. Like it was on the blacklist for a while because it was like, well, this is one of the best scripts that hasn't been made yet. But I thought that with Emma Stone, I don't know if this would have been as good. You know, like it's not that I dislike Emma Stone. I do think that she's a wonderful actor, but it being Anya Taylor-Joy, I felt like made it more relevant. Like honestly, if this was Emma Stone, I feel like this movie would probably be like tanking worse than it already is.
I think so, which isn't a detriment to her. Like you said, I don't think she's a bad actress, but I think that Anya Taylor-Joy is more current. So it makes sense that it would be her. And she does have she's been in a very interesting film the same way we see Mia Goth. So to me, it personally kind of attracted me to the movie that it was her attached to it. You'd be like, I like her. I'll watch that.
Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy is at
like
that
Ralph
point
Fiennes
now where it's like she's in it. Like I'm gonna see it. Most likely.
Because I mean, it just seems like a lot of the time she's tied to the Egger projects, which may take a lot of time, but every once in a while she slips and does something a little different, and I'll watch it if she's in it. So
yeah, seeing her in the 21st century, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to watch it just because she got to be in a fucking movie from today.
Yeah, I mean exactly. I felt the same way seeing her in God Awful Amsterdam, but that was some of the calling for it, you know. But she's in it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, she is. Yes.
Oh, great. So we get into the movie. So it's a group of elites, right?
Elites.
Where would you say? Do you know where this takes place? Like I don't know if in the movie it even says, but I know that it was filmed in Georgia, and then the island was it's called Jekyll Island. That was where they did the filming for all of the island stuff.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it ever
they
really.
never really mentioned that.
No,
right?
it's just like because they're already on their way there, and we just know it's an island.
So we have 12 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all elite in one way or another, except for Anya Taylor-Joy's character,
Margot.
Supposedly, right? But they're traveling by boat to this island to have this dining experience. Ralph Fiennes, like we said, he plays the head chef. His name is Chef Julian Slowik, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this experience that he gives his guest is much more than just dining. Like it's something that is so elite that like I feel like me and you probably couldn't even comprehend that people do stuff like this.
Yeah,
you're like, what the fuck? So Margot is us. She's the outsider. She's the fish out of water, and I do think that Anya Taylor-Joy does a great job of carrying that throughout the entire film. And from the jump, you're just kind of seeing the arrogance and the ego of all these people, right? John Leguizamo is oh, I know him, we're friends. You have the tech dudes who are just, tech dude bros. Insert whatever thought you have about them, because they're probably they probably fill that in perfectly. You have your old rich couple. You get the food critics, right?
Yeah.
And we're kind of all just wondering, like, where are they going? What's this going to be? And they get to this beautiful island, and we find out that they're going to go on a tour before they get to the restaurant. And I guess I don't know if it's a detriment, but one thing I kind of wondered was if they were going to kind of tie everyone together. Like, maybe that's just like a mystery trope that I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
Is
What
like,
did they all
how
do?
is this all tied together? Or not that necessarily that all 12 of them know each other, but it's like, what are their crimes that they have done that would bring all of them together?
Yeah.
And this is where some of the comedy really kind of ensues later on, because you realize that some of the stuff is not as bad as you would really think that it would be,
Yeah. I will say that I with the character, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, that it is done very well, because right from the get-go, you kind of know that something is off and that she's not really even fitting with Nicholas Holt's character. She just kind of seems like she's along for the ride, and it's not like you can tell. Like some couples, when you watch them in films, you're like, oh, they're in love, or they're supposed to show in love. It just really seems like two people dating, and I do think that seems to be something that at first you may see as like, oh, that's a character, the characteristic, but it is just driven towards the plot. And I think that's where the film kind of takes a lot of its social commentary is through her character and the relationship she ends up having with Ralph.
Did you think that
Fiennes.
was like a first date when you were watching it? Because it did feel like they're like, oh, this is not boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, like it did, because it just seems like you knew from the get-go that she wasn't very interested in the food herself. Like she does see food as, she definitely wasn't as big as a fan as Nicholas Holt's character was, and you would think that somebody who'd be dating for a while, they would have those similar type of traits to want to go do something like this. So it does seem more like his character just trying to impress her, whether it was because he thinks he's pretty, or I don't know, but it did feel very off even from the get-go.
Yeah, so when they get to the island, this is where they meet Hong Chau's character, Elsa. She's the maitre d'. If you're not really into the fine dining world at all, that's essentially like the captain of the restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, not only is she, it's beyond being a waiter. It's like a waiter, manager, like a captain is really the best way to put it. If Ralph Fiennes is in charge, she's second in command, her performance was really unsettling, because she just has that same cold, calculating precision that
Chef does.
that chef does, but it's presented in a way where it's like so like double-sided, like she could turn on you so fast.
Yeah.
Because there's like that moment in the trailer where she's like explaining everything we do here, or that they do there on the island, and then she's like, we gel. And Anya Taylor-Joy's like, they gel? We gel. You know what I mean? It was just hilarious. I know Hong Chau had said that during the table reads and kind of when they were first starting to make this movie, she wasn't really sure how she was supposed to play it, because on paper it didn't feel like that's what she was meant to do. But I think whatever choices she made to embody this character, that she really killed it. And I did think that she brought exactly the right tone to it,
Yeah, she's so methodical and serious, like I said, extension of the chef, but I do think she has a lot of the comedic moments in this movie, because she's kind of served as the first barrier of reminder of how stupid a lot of these characters are in their questions and their morality. And I did think she has one of the funniest quotes, I would say, for me in this whole thing. It's the whole tortilla ordeal. I think that's one of the funniest things for me.
I don't remember it at the moment. Do you remember like exactly what it was?
Yeah, so when they start, again, we're doing spoilers, so I guess I'll get a little bit more specific, but there's a part where they print like very important documents on them in tortillas, and they're gonna eat tacos, street tacos, and the tech bros, they see that some of their leaks of things that can get them in trouble is on the tortillas, and so they're like, what the fuck is this? And she's like, tortillas.
Oh yeah.
And then she
like explains.
she
how
starts
a tortilla is-
enunciating it. Yeah, exactly. tortillas muy buenas, or she said something like, well, and then so it's just so funny because the same thing is just kind of playing onto the, you know what's happening here, and you're kind of so you're not seeing it yet, but right in front of your eyes, you know, we're cooking something up we think you deserve.
You know, I did feel like she hated the guest more than Chef himself.
Yeah.
And I do think it's because the chef, as although he loathes these people for what they've done to him, or like what they've turned him into, and all of the other, you know, stuff that goes into it, I do think that she feels even more unseen by these people. You know, these people think they're above me, and really none of them are, obviously, because they're not. But I do think that hate that maybe the entire staff would have for these guests, it's all through her. She's the vessel for kind of all of it, you know?
Yeah, because...
And she really puts these people in their place, you know? Like, there's that one point where they're like, can we get some bread? No. And then they're like, what if we give you money? No. Like, she can't be bought. She can't be sold. She can't be persuaded to kind of leave the mission behind.
Never.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do think that was something that these especially like the tech bros, they're not used to being told no ever. And she's just fucking sticking it to him the entire movie.
Usually Bunny's able to solve a lot of things, but here it's not. And I think it's very interesting always. There's been a lot of movies this year addressing kind of richer people and rich people suck, which I'm always a fan for. But just being put in that situation where they can't get what they want regardless of it just really is always interesting to me, because what kind of childish tantrum would you throw if you were in a position where on an everyday basis you're given exactly what you want due to, you know, having the money to do so. And that's always what drives these films for me to be like an interesting anecdote, because you kind of really find out how useless some people
So once our guests are at the restaurant and the show really begins to start, we're introduced to like how this is going to go down. So the chef gives the speeches before each course. The meal is all going to be tied together at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, as the movie goes along, everything gets more outlandish, and it becomes more violent, obviously, as well. But it starts off with a simple, I would never disrespect it by saying simple, because it's like this really, really fucking elaborate like seafood course that it's like its own little ecosystem on a plate, you know?
Yeah.
And the food itself, I feel like you can't go and do this review without mentioning it. It was all done by Dominique Crenn, and I don't know if you know her from like, because I know you said you've watched some cooking shows and stuff like that, but she's the only 3-star Michelin chef in America who is a woman, and she's also a like just a huge star in the culinary world. Like I've seen her on fucking Master Chef, right? She's been on there a few times. She'll come in and be one of the like mentors, you know what I mean? She does all the food for this, and those designs, like if this movie is not deadly serious, but the food is, you know?
Yeah.
That's one thing that they really did want to get across, was the art that goes behind creating
the plate.
Yeah, like these plates. Like it does feel weird calling it food, because it does feel like it's something more than that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, avidly being a fan of those type of shows and the culinary art, how it is interesting, and I do understand where the money aspect comes when it's presented to you in the way that it does. Like no one presents a McDonald's burger that way, you know, or the fact that how something is sliced could make you theoretically in your head think that it tastes better, because it's just like,
when
it's
McDonald's does it, they're not doing it on purpose. When you buy a Big Mac and it's all over, like it wasn't meant to be deconstructed.
Exactly. They're like, just eat it. But this is just like every intricate piece that goes here is, you know, just curated to the perfect degree. And then there's a lot of times that this food is like, oh, it's been grown in this specific place in the world at this specific time, and we've kept it in a fridge for this. For you, all for your taste buds to just feel the most intense flavor that they can. And I do think that that's one of the most appealing arts that there can be. And like you said, that is what, in this movie, all of the takes of the food to me, it looks really good too. You know.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not someone who's like, oh, I need to go have these experiences. I definitely want to try 6 gels on a plate.
Yeah.
But I could see where that desire comes from to want to try that, because it's so different than what you would just get in a quote unquote regular restaurant, you know? And when you see the love that goes behind it, it is kind of hard to just throw that aside and act like that doesn't matter, you know? Like it's someone trying to do something that really does like reinvent the form, you know? Like I think the most simple dish you see here is like the chicken with the fucking scissors in it, right? It's like just a tiny little chicken breast, but even that had so much care put into it that, or like the tortillas, those don't look like tortillas that you get at Northgate, you know what I mean? Like those were special made tortillas. Did you know that I think that I'm not 100% sure on this. I saw it in a like press junket that I think that the chefs in the movie are chefs in real life. I don't know if those are actors or not.
Some of like his staff.
Yeah, I think it was kind of mixed between real and
like some of the people who's actually sitting there are actual cooks. I didn't look into that, but I mean, I think like you said, some of these plates being prepared, I'm sure that the chef has her staff, right? And maybe since they really had to make some of the food since some of them are actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I won't use this as like a compliment to the movie, but I do think that there is like half and half. That's half actors and half chefs. But I thought that was cool either way, even if it's only just a few of them, you know.
Yeah.
But the messages that the chef is giving with each meal are relevant, I would say, not just to the movie, but to like society today. You know, like the one like I was talking about, this that's like an ecosystem onto itself, is the reminder of that, how small all of this really is when you're like how quickly they forget like this island that they're on, and like how nature provided all of this, and like this crazy art that you're seeing, this small world that he created. He didn't do anything except just, you know, gather these materials that are already, you know, put there by what God or the universe or whatever, you know. And it starts off nice, and you think that it's going to be like this, okay, maybe he's got some like hippy dippy message to this meal, but to see how it carries on is where the fun really starts to begin, because it does start to get really, really outlandish. And I feel like the second act of the movie is really where the trailers gave the most away, but also you couldn't have kind of guessed where this was gonna go if you didn't see the movie, because I did think at one point it was going to be a the rich being hunted movie. I did almost think it would be a cannibal movie at one point, where I was like, oh, well, let me guess, the most delectable dish, a human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I enjoyed where it went way more than that.
Yeah, I think how they showed, you said the second act, how they show that they end up chasing some characters is what I thought everybody was going to be doing, the whole like second and third act, you know, and I thought, oh, Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be badass and she's going to have to show that I got through this, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what happened. And I think that's why it really made me like the film more, is that it kind of took more of a route that it's more based, more grounded, more, like you said, we're not pointing our fingers at aren't these people just the worst? Or like these people just need to be off by cannibals. It's more like just a reminder that some of the stuff that's happening around here that, you know, people in this class don't really appreciate. And I just really enjoyed the chef aspect, or the dynamic that I think Hong Chau's character really brings, that connection.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite course or moment from the movie, like out of all of the courses, like one that really stood out to you?
You brought it up already. The ecosystem one is probably that was the one where I was like, it's just fascinating to know that's real. Like you said, now that she actually made that food, that I know that every aspect of what they were talking about is more than likely she made the descriptions for what he was talking about, you know. And that the ecosystem one, I think, just was really outstanding to think about. Again, how there's always this kind of like conversation between humans in terms of being gods or whatever. And in that way, a chef in the kitchen right there is kind of being that, kind of bringing this these components together to create something that really mimics basic bacteria or whatever you'd want to call it.
The two that stood out to me, honestly, were I don't remember exactly what it was called, but you know, Ralph Fiennes, he calls up one of his sous chefs, and he has him kind of stand there, and he berates him. You know, he's like, he'll never be me.
Yeah.
He's not as talented as I am. He doesn't have it's not a preternatural ability. It isn't, no matter how hard he tries, he could never replicate what I do. And he knows that. And then he kind of has him repeat that in like, almost like like an affirmation, you know, like say it, that you're never going to be better than me. It's like, I'll never be better than you. And he's like, and do you want my life? And yes. And he's like, why? Like, I'm miserable. Why would you want my life? Like, it's just this, I thought it was really, really speaking to kind of how we idolize our heroes. You know what I mean? Like, and for me and you, that's even easier, because I'm sure if we were to speak to a director who we really look up to, they might be fucking miserable. And it's like, why would you ever want to be me? I'd much rather be you.
Yeah.
You know? And to see how it really does have a shocking fucking ending, that scene, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The meal itself is there's like a mat on the floor, and you're seeing all these like garnishes and stuff like that, right? And then the fucking sous chef literally blows his brains out onto the floor, and that's the course, you know? And like, for me, I was just like, whoa. Like,
yeah.
My theater like loved it, you know? I fucking loved it. It really took that like, oh fuck, this is going to be much more than even I thought it was going to be, you know? And I did think the other one was that stood out to me was the chase, because it becomes a patriarchy thing, you know. He also is judging himself, the chef, at this point. He has all the men line up outside, and he breaks it down for them of like, you're gonna have to run for your own survival right now. And then the chef brings up one of his chefs or cooks or whatever, and he tells her, or he presents a story of what's happened, and how he himself is also no different than most of these men here. How he made advances towards her, she rejected his advances, and how he used his power to punish her for that, right? And he presents her this option of kind of getting revenge. You know, so she fucking stabs him in the leg.
Yeah.
And then like all the dudes have to take off running, and then the women get to go back inside, and I believe they enjoy their own little course, right?
Yeah.
That's like just for them. And the other reason I really like this moment is because it finally settles in like the stakes of this movie, that everyone here is going to die tonight, which is not something we had mentioned yet. That was why I was saying, like, you couldn't really just watch the trailer for this and just go, okay, I know exactly.
They're
what
going
this
to
is gonna
chase
be
down.
about.
Yeah.
You know, because it wasn't just like we said, it would have been too simple to just do the like, fuck the rich people, eat the rich people, you know, like that's how it's going to end. Like, no, everyone here is at fault. And the only character who isn't at fault is Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's because she wasn't even meant to be here in the first place.
She was not scheduled to be here.
Yeah, so maybe even for her, I could see why this is like, oh, this is where the thriller horror aspect comes from, because it's like, well, you have to play the part, so you're dying tonight too, you know?
And Ralph Fiennes' methodicalness transcends that he's able, one, she's not on the schedule, so from the get-go, Hong Chau's like, when they're coming into the island, she's like, this is weird. This isn't the girl that you thought you're supposed to bring.
Yeah.
And then Ralph Fiennes, like, that's where as the viewer, we end up getting the difference in his character, because we have somebody here who's not supposed to be here. So we get these moments with the chef. They weren't going to be here had the right appropriate person been here. And so you get those breaks of his character that really show the small humanity that he does have, to be able to recognize that even he is a victim to the same things that a lot of the rich people are. And like you said, I think that's why the movie isn't really pointing a finger at anybody, because it seems to be more about the overarching issues of being victims of capitalism or the patriarchy or whatever it may be for each one of these
The
pertaining
commodification
characters.
of art, how it's whored out, like
Yeah.
he knows, he's like, I'm an attention whore. I'm a, like, he at one point just says like, I'm a whore. Like I need this as much as all these other people. Like it's a give and take, like he can't have this success and this level of mastery without the fucking rich people.
Yeah. And so it's all really a facade to try to have that status, but there's no real happiness there. Like you said, the food isn't really being made with love anymore. It's kind of made more to impress some of the reviewers that we see here, or he has all the stories with these people in terms of why they're all here and the connection that they have. Like, oh, I can only make all of this because you guys fund me. But the second that I don't have this funding, who am I as a person?
Yeah.
If I'm not the chef. And I think that's what this movie really stood out to me, because there's, like you said, he's also judging himself very much. And like, it'd be the best thing if all of us were all just fucking terrible. We should all die.
You know what I couldn't stop thinking of the entire time was like this movie kind of took like a South Park approach to its to its characters. It's like, you're fucking stupid, and you watching at home, you're fucking stupid too. Like all of us, everything is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate. I mean, it is a little simplistic, but
Word.
it's not a black and white world, so it's not like you can just fucking like, oh, well, they're right and they're wrong. It's kind of like, well, everybody's wrong all the fucking time about everything. I did want to. I felt like we couldn't go too far without mentioning the relationship between Anya Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that she's the only character in this movie that really challenges him in any sort of way, whether it be like physically, on an intelligence level. Even emotionally, she's really the only person who can get anything real out of him. Like everything feels, like you said, so much like a facade at this point, that her just being a regular person and acting like a fucking regular person put a twist in his plans that he wasn't expecting. But I do think for him that it was like joyous. You know what I mean? I did think that he genuinely did appreciate having her there, because it kind of gave him one last final moment of like feeling like a real fucking person before all of the shit goes down.
I will say something that is interesting that I just remembered to bring up, actually, that where this film kind of covers a lot of the bases in terms of giving us character dynamics that not too much information, but just enough information, is the relationship between, I think it named Richard, right? The older couple that are together, the man.
I don't. Sure.
Yeah, but then
Richard, who cares?
And then in Anya Taylor-Joy Margot's relationship, which is like they apparently have met before, and
yeah, so we've gone far enough without even mentioning it. But Margot, Anya Taylor-Joy's character,
Woman
is
of the
an
Night.
escort.
Yeah.
So she fucking, this old man is one of her clients.
And he's, and I mean, some of the things that the reasons why he got with her and like what he asked her to do is very creepy, and I think, again, it just really shows, because you watch the couple seems to just be people who really enjoy the chef's food, and they've been there a lot of times. They're the same couple that can't name a dish that they've ever had that he's made. But it also kind of shows the real at fault things and what really makes them just as shitty as anybody else here. And it's not like it really presses on those things. There's this weirdness that the wife and him, this tension that they have, and it kind of just gives a little bit more information of that. But I don't think the movie really spends too much time on that, but I think that works for it instead of like to its detriment. It's not like I felt like, why did they introduce this? I think it really just set the stage for you to kind of really understand that Anya Taylor-Joy's character was lying for who she was, and that, again, every person here is just really not a great person, honestly. Besides her.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if the movie's trying to tell you like, oh, she's a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's what I was
it's
gonna say.
like she's the
Different.
the least.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. Even saying evil is because like I don't. It's tough because like I don't think he put her in a position to be like, oh, you're supposed to like love her or hate her, but that she is the only like regular person here.
Yeah.
And she's the only other person who services anybody. You know, everyone here besides Ralph Fiennes and the other chefs are so used to being pampered and served. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about her being the only one who challenges him in any way. She's the only person there who he can relate to in any sense.
Yeah.
So to see that stretch of being a chef and a prostitute as almost the same exact thing is kind of really damning on how it feels to even want to, like, the idea of wanting to do anything for anybody else. You know what I mean? Of like how even that, I guess, I'm not trying to say like it's a noble pursuit or whatever, but that it's a failing game that you're only going to feel kind of horrible about doing by the end, you know,
Right.
because he does ask her at one point, he's like, do you enjoy the service that you do? And she's like, yeah, I do enjoy it. I mean, like, and I have, but like, whether you're a chef or a prostitute, at a certain point, you can only be used for so long before you just feel kind of dead inside about it, you know?
Right.
And I feel like she gave him kind of a great sadness while also giving him that joy of just that, like, fuck, you're the only person here who fucking gets me. And even you don't really get me because he's unhinged. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's not to be like, oh
exactly.
yeah, you know, she's normal, he's normal. He's not.
No, he's not.
She's the last semblance of like any kind of normality, and he's kind of feeling sad about it because he's like, I didn't expect for you to be here, and I don't want this for you, but it's like, sorry, you've caught me at the most unhinged moment, and now you're gonna have to fucking, we'll suffer through this too. You know what I mean?
I did want to backtrack a little bit just because Nicholas Holt's character. I do think it's interesting that he just decided to bring a woman of the night to this trip, right?
Woman of the night, yeah.
Big to impress her.
Well, fuck, it's fucking awful once you realize what, you know, that important piece of information that is revealed.
Yeah, but then I also wanted to bring him back up because I did think it's funny that not funny, but his ending in this film is pretty justified, and I think it kind of really reflected a lot of. It reminded me a lot of like internet, like these people are on the internet, you know, and the way that a lot of people really fan, like, oh, Zack Snyder should have done this or whatever, insert whoever. All right, you do it then. Like you've been doing this for so long, you do it then.
Internet experts, keyboard warriors.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, and just to find out, be like, you can't even hold this right. You wouldn't even know how to get this started. You wouldn't know how to, you know. And I did think that reflected a lot again because a lot of the characters in this film are really just filling boxes for stereotypes of people or a lot of thoughts for certain types of people. And I think that his character was really interesting because it kind of. He's so different than Anya Taylor-Joy's character and what they represent in the world, especially in the dynamics of this film. And his ending is kind of just justified as, for the lack of a better word, but justified the same as the guy who kills himself for the chef, kind of realizing that your life, all that you think of yourself, is really just a facade.
Yeah, so I do want to stick on Nicholas Hoult because I think you brought up a lot of great points. Even the idea of him seeing himself as above Anya Taylor-Joy's character, not because of their status or job or whatever, but just the gatekeeping of like, you don't even fucking understand how to appreciate food. You know what I mean? Like she smokes in the beginning and he's like, you're gonna ruin your palate. You know what I mean? Or he berates her for how she eats the appetizer. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, I couldn't help but feel like that's I don't think we try to do that, but you know, that's kind of what we do here. You know what I mean? It's like, let me tell you how to appreciate this because you don't know how to appreciate this.
Yeah.
And, I do think that's kind of one of the reasons why we approach the show the way we do, of just being like a conversation and, for the most part, appreciation, is because I never want to act like I know better than a director. Because guess what? If you handed me the tools to make a movie, I'm gonna make a fucking shit show, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But just because I appreciate it and watch it, like, we're not all gonna be Quentin Tarantino's of like, I know what the fuck I know how to do this, and then actually be amazing at
Yeah,
it,
just
you
because
know
I
what
watched
mean?
it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I probably would end up hanging myself in the closet after fucking Quentin Tarantino called me out and's like, you know what, come here, come direct this scene.
Yeah, fraud. Right.
Oh yeah, fraud. The other thing though too is that he really is the worst person here, because he's aware of this situation before he even got
Yeah,
there.
seriously.
You know, we find out that Ralph Fiennes has been in communication with him for, I think, up to no less than a year, maybe 3, of planning this out, right? And he understands that Nicholas Holt's character has this like undying admiration for him, and it disgusts him. You know what I mean? He reveals the information that I told you that everybody here was gonna die, and look at you just sitting here stuffing your face, still fucking like going on and on about the like, oh well, how he did this and the flick of his wrist and the temperature at this degree, blah blah blah. And it's like there's literally people dying around you, and you still can't get your head out of your own ass, thinking that like somehow this is going to impress me. And just when that information is revealed that he knew that, and that he hired Anya Taylor-Joy to be murdered,
Fill in this,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
seriously.
Like that's like the most unforgivable thing in this entire movie, honestly.
So that's why I again do think very justified ending, which is obviously very weird to say because of the way that he offs himself. But I'm just saying, in the terms of this movie, it's very justified because it's a character that represents maybe a lot of just a facade of a life. And I think, again, the movie isn't really trying to be deep, but that's where I think it just kind of hits everything just right, where it's just kind of talked about, but the movie doesn't sit there and heavy-handed express this to you. I just do think it kind of says it and goes on. There's a lot of things to address.
Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about the movie. I did kind of want to talk about the ending a bit because I don't want to say it put me off, but I was just surprised that it was so blatantly a a Midsummer ripoff of an ending.
I will say that's what I was waiting to say. My favorite plate is the burger in this whole thing. The burger
course,
that she eats, yeah, because that's what I grew up on, man. That's food to me. So it does make sense that she's like, I'm still starving. Can I get a real food? And you kind of tell in Ralph Fiennes' character here that chef is really enjoying making this burger because he knows it really is gonna fulfill someone's desire. And there's even kind of a play on like, can I take this to go? And she takes it, and it's kind of where we lead into what you said, the ending. And I just did really think it topped off that burger again, getting that shot of what it felt with it really just kind of translated this is why I started doing this.
Yeah, it was the Ratatouille moment, where he made that burger and he remembered everything he loved about his life.
Dang, this burger.
You know what else or before we get to the ending that I don't know really how I feel about or not, I did like when he mentioned that he's like, you guys probably could have escaped. Like, you guys are so fucking useless and so cucked and so fucking like, never mind, I don't want to say it, but you guys are so
beta.
Yeah, so fucking beta that you never even thought to try to
Like,
get
let me
up and
run.
escape.
Yeah. They just never thought
They
about.
just accepted their fates. Like, well, I guess I'm dying here tonight.
They're just so used to not having to. If I don't know what to do. I was here. I got food. I'm in my comfort. I'm not supposed to get uncomfortable to not be in this position. And interestingly enough, like I said, there's been a lot of movies this year that kind of address these same themes. But Triangle of Sadness really kind of does the same kind of thing here, where it just really shows you like, wow, you guys are, like I said, pretty useless in terms of like,
yeah, you're so useless you can't even be bothered to try to save your own life.
Yeah, like something that is supposed to be innate in nature. Like if somebody is stabbing you, what is the thing you're gonna do? Run. And these people are like, well, you're asking me to run.
It's
That's
part
not a
of the
lot.
show.
Yeah. So I think, I like that point. I love that point because it's true. It's just ridiculous, but I do think in terms of it's grounded in reality. I would assume so.
Yeah, and it's one last slap in the face.
Exactly.
And I do want to kind of wrap this up and get to the dessert scene, right? The ending of the movie.
Right.
How did you feel about the homage to Midsummer?
The homage. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I haven't watched enough movies to know that if Midsummer is the only movie to do that, but I do know that it is I told you it was like A24 ending.
I mean, okay. I don't know. I'm sure Midsummer's not the only movie to have an ending like that, but in the pop culture lexicon right now, is that not the most relevant, comparison of, oh well, the last time I saw something like that was in Midsummer, or the last time that was the big like finale. You know what I mean? Just even down to the, like, instead of wearing bear suits, they're wearing fucking marshmallow suits and chocolate hats. Like the music, the ritualistic like nature of it, of like he gives the big speech at the end, the way that they all are just engulfed in this flame to become a human s'more.
Human s'more.
I just couldn't fucking, like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I haven't seen a movie in recent memory that, like, just so openly and blatantly was like, I'm using this movie's ending. Sorry, like, I don't know what to tell you. Kind of just, you either have to take it or leave it. And I haven't really heard anyone gripe about it, but it was just funny to me. And I guess one of the reasons it doesn't bother me so much is because it's an ending I do love. So I was like, okay, whatever. I don't mind seeing someone riff on it, but it was so blatant. I was like, wow, like, you can get away with doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of how I felt about it.
That's funny.
Yeah. Do you like the ending of the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it very necessarily goes anywhere like adding to it, or it really takes anything away. I think it really just concludes it in a way that feels where it's budget, if that's the word, for lack of better. Like, this is how a movie of this type of status would end. It's the story's done. I don't really think it leaves anything for what happened to her, or what about this. I just think it kind of concludes that what you said. The goal of here was everybody to die, and the only reason we have her out of here was because she wasn't supposed to be here. And I think that's basically just all that it does. Again, the burger's really good, so that like
Good burger, Alvaro's happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that wraps it up for me. Does that wrap it up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too many other thoughts besides, like I said, I do really enjoy that I saw this with the crowd, and I do really enjoy that this really came out of nowhere for me, and that it really was still worth seeing after watching these trailers for close to like 4 months. Again, I didn't really know if we were really going to talk about this episode when we watched those trailers, just because I did really think it was going to be closer to even being bad. And I'm just really glad that this kind of is one of those films we talk about that don't get made too often, and maybe it's because it only has 21 million right now. But it's just really, every time I walk out of a film like this, it's like, this is really all I wish there was more of, besides, a lot of franchise ties or a lot of other minimal stuff that we just get. I do wish every movie was at least approached this way by directors, and I do wish that studios would take a little bit more of, like, what about we just put films out there that are one-offs, and
Yeah. Why not? Like, what if we just made a movie because
why not?
They're fun.
Like, why not?
And
It's not
people
based
like
off a
going
book.
to the movies, and
Yeah. Like,
why not?
It's not based off of a book. It's people can come up with original. I know everything is a riff of everything, but there's a lot of original ideas for movies that aren't tied to books. And I think the fact that something like this can kind of get some attention from the studio, given a mid-budget, it's just really what I really champion for cinema. I don't want all the time for these independent ones. Like, I love these independent films, but I do miss the mid-tier movies, and we've talked about this year a lot. And I think The Menu is a perfect representation of that. I do think I will watch this movie in the future various times. I think I did enjoy myself enough to champion this movie as we have.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we've gone all over the place in terms of episodes we've done, right? We've done very accessible stuff. We've done very inaccessible stuff, right? But I do feel like a movie like this is like, if my mom or a friend or whatever was like, you want to watch a movie? But yeah, let's watch The Menu.
The Menu, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's nice to have that. And I also do love that this isn't like some, this wasn't a, oh man, this is my passion project. I've been wanting to make this movie. Like, I just love that it's a fucking movie that exists because, hey, we make movies,
Yeah.
like that. I'm sorry if that's not enough for some people, but it used to be, how it worked.
They're talking about like the tone that never takes itself too seriously, and I think that's where the comedy works. And I think kind of you talked about in the beginning, Mark Mylod being like, this is a director doing a job. I think that's what this movie is, but he's doing a good job. He didn't just like drop this for the money, you know. And I do think he's still like, okay, they asked me to do this job, and I'm sure he has his influence. Like I'm sure Martin Scorsese is his influence, but he's not like, you know what, I'm gonna rip one of Martin Scorsese's movies for this movie, The Menu. He's still like,
and it isn't like the movie itself really isn't pretentious either. You know,
exactly.
And I felt like there was no pretension put into it, even though like you would maybe think that from the trailer, but. Or like when you see Anya Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes and stuff like that, you're like, oh, this might be kind of a snooty movie because these are big movie stars, you know?
Exactly.
But no, like you said, it's just a mid-budget film with stars in it, and it's a good fucking time at the movies. And maybe if we had more of that, the movies would be doing a lot better, you know?
And I know, and maybe that's the thing is people aren't really tuned in. Like it has to be connected to something, or you know, this has to, or who wrote this. But the fact that to me, this is the movies. This is cinema to me, as much as the independent stuff that we see. Like when I grew up, there was just movies just like this every week dropping, you know, and I don't really feel like there's that many of them. Now it's always, you know, artsy A24 stuff, or the next Marvel movie, or the next blockbuster by the studios with The Rock in it. I don't feel like there's too many of these, and I'm just glad that we saw this.
You know what? It doesn't feel like it was cooked up in a fucking boardroom of like, how do we make the shareholders happy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just felt like, wow, they finally let them just make a movie just cause.
Small risk. They took a small risk, you know, like I don't know how they'll feel about it. Like you said, maybe I don't know when it'll close out. Maybe it'll catch up to its budget, and then in post run it'll get some more audience. But I do think that it's not like, you know, we've talked about Tar and we talked about The Fabelmans. These are movies that are going to probably be talked about more because of the Academy. This movie is not, but that's not a bad thing. And sometimes people swear that might be. They're like, oh, well, this movie isn't an Academy. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be. Exactly. I still think it's well acted.
So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely give it a watch. Go see it in theaters if they're still showing it. And if not, you know, catch it on demand. I do definitely think that you'll have a fun time. Watch it with some friends, watch it with your family, you know, popcorn and some drinks or whatever, some snacks, and just sit back and enjoy, man. It's not going to take a lot out of you, and it's not asking you a shit ton of stuff, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that it's crazy. Here we go, hot take. It's nice to have fun sometimes.
It's not even long.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. It's kind of quick, too. And I did feel like it never really slowed down or got lost in its own plot, which it easily could have.
It could have.
But that's all I'm really going to say about The Menu. I highly recommend it. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite ones of the year, but it was definitely, I don't know, like maybe like top 20 or something like that.
Yeah, I did. I was thinking about it. There's a lot of, I've watched a lot of films this year where I thought, you know, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed this, but it's like in my top 20 too. It's down there, but I think, you know, at the end of the year when we review our films, I think it's obviously it got its episode, so it's worth bringing up, and it's definitely worth recommending.
Yeah, man. So like, subscribe, comment. I have to chill. I have to do all the stuff. Please, we're trying to keep the lights on. You know, do everything you got to do to keep the show going, because we're going to do everything we got to do to keep the show going. And thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.